Live from KSAT 12, the Nightbeat starts right now.
We begin tonight with a dispute in Converse that ends with a woman pulling out a gun and threatening to shoot her next door neighbor.
Shoot you.
Police later arrested the woman who had the gun pointed at her. KSAT Investigates Dylan Collier spoke with a defense attorney. His take on the developing case may surprise you.
On March 4th, Bismarck Lane resident Margot Vasquez said she was forced to move a neighbor's bed frame that had been set out for bulk trash pickup several times as it was over the curb and making contact with her car. Vasquez told KSAT a decade of frustration with neighbor Shirley Barr was running through her when she walked up to Barr and delivered a two-handed shove. A surveillance camera above Barr's garage continued to roll as Barr walked inside her home, then emerged half a minute later, opening the door of a truck and pulling out a handgun.
I'll shoot your down. They should shoot every weapon.
Converse police called to the scene, charged Vasquez with misdemeanor assault after Barr complained of shortness of breath and had red marks that could be seen by responding officers. Barr, who did not respond to a request for comment, was not charged.
And we see the bed frame sort of on the edge of the property line.
Criminal defense attorney John Hunter, who is not involved in the case, analyzed the footage for KSAT and gave us his legal opinion. He says Converse police followed Texas law and got it right.
The question here we need to start with is Ms. Barr on her own property? Yes. Is Ms. Vasquez interfering with Ms. Barr's property? It appears so, at least in part. Could Ms. Vasquez have done something other than be confrontational, throw this material in the driveway to block people from coming and going from that driveway? Obviously.
But this case took a turn earlier this month after Converse PD filed a case against Barr with the Bexar County District Attorney's Office for aggravated assault, a felony, citing the threats made and the gun that she produced. Hunter calls it a, quote, brash decision by police.
Ms. Barr is defending her real property. She's not using violent force when the conflict starts. Ms. Vasquez is the initiator of that conflict. And there's extremely strong language being used in combination with physical force.
A DA spokesman confirms both cases are with its intake division and are now under review. For KSAT Investigates, I'm Dylan Collier.
Tonight, a man is in custody in connection with a deadly hit-and-run crash that killed an 18-year-old. SAPD says 66-year-old Daniel Martinez responsible for the crash that killed Jacob Lopez. Martinez now charged with failure to stop and render aid, resulting in death. He's being held in the Bexar County Jail on a $100,000 bond. Now, to refresh your memory, that crash happened just last Saturday before 10:30 in the 8500 block of I-35 in Kiowa. The arrest affidavit says Lopez was riding his bike home from work when Martinez allegedly hit him with his vehicle and then drove off. Security video and an eyewitness helped SAPD find Martinez. The affidavit states Martinez told police he knew he hit something at the crash site but didn't know what it was. He also told officers he was leaving a sports bar that night and had 4 or 5 beers before driving. Martinez was arrested yesterday.
Tonight, we are learning more about that deadly motorcycle crash on Loop 410 that diverted traffic for hours. We first brought it to you as breaking news last night on the Nightbeat. The crash happened around 10 at the Northwest Loop 410 and Highway 151 intersection. Sheriff Javier Salazar at the scene said the motorcyclist died after leading deputies on a pursuit. He said deputies tried to pull the man over for a traffic stop, but he took off. The man sped off and later crashed into a black sedan at the intersection.
There were some minor injuries, and those people were taken to the hospital just as a minor precaution. But thankfully, nobody else was seriously injured in this crash. It could have been much worse.
Sheriff Salazar also says the motorcyclist had a handgun on him and warrants out for his arrest. The medical examiner has not yet identified that man.
Tonight, San Antonio police are searching for the suspect involved in a shooting at an Eastside apartment complex. This happened just after 4 o'clock this morning in the 1000 block of Locke Street. Officers say they arrived to find a 26-year-old man in the parking lot with a gunshot wound. He was taken to the hospital and is expected to recover. SAPD says right now they don't have any known suspects.
A fight in the parking lot of a Southwest Side gas station leads to a man being shot. It happened just before 3 this morning at a Quick Trip in the 1900 block of Southwest Military Drive. Police say 2 men were fighting in that parking lot when a crowd formed. During the fight, someone in the crowd fired a gun, hitting one of the men in the leg. He was then taken to a nearby hospital and he is expected to recover. No information has been released about the suspect, except for police saying they drove off in a black sedan. One person in police custody, though, following a fire at an apartment complex. The San Antonio Fire Department responded to the call around 2 this morning in the 200 block of Violetta Place. That's just west of downtown. Fire investigators say a couch inside the unit caught fire. The fire was put out quickly, but 2 people were taken to the hospital nearby for smoke inhalation. No word yet on what caused that fire, but we do know San Antonio police have 1 person of interest in custody.
If you're out and about near I-35 over on the west side tonight, you might have seen some black plumes of smoke. San Antonio crews were sent out to put out a fire that left 1 person without somewhere to stay tonight.
Now, the 19's Camelia Juarez tells us what originally caught fire, sending that smoke sky high.
The flames were shooting up. You could see the smoke for almost to the highway.
KSAT crews got to this scene quickly, but the flames were gone by then, showing just how fast firefighters were able to get it out. Around 7 this evening, the San Antonio Fire Department was sent to the 400 block of West Harlan on the city's west side. When they arrived, an RV was on fire in the back of a house where neighbor Gwendolyn Garcia says people were trying to handle it themselves.
The guys were trying to put it out with a hose. So I immediately got on the phone and called 911 because the flames were high.
The fire did burn a nearby casita where 1 person was living. The cause is still under investigation.
Because it's a trailer, there's a lot of plastics and stuff, so it's hard to determine exactly where it started.
Now, the person living in that casita was not home at the time of the fire, and right now they're staying with family members. And San Antonio Fire did rescue a dog as well. Reporting live, Camelia Juarez, KSAT 12 News.
Thank you, Camelia. Well, starting tomorrow, all Uvalde CISD students will not be allowed to bring backpacks to school for the week. District officials say this comes after a, quote, noticeable increase in non-credible social media threats. Students have a few options. They can carry non-clear small bags or clutches, a clear bag, or a 1-gallon freezer bag for items like phones, money, and hygiene products. Again, this policy starts tomorrow and will be in place through May 22nd. The policy applies to all pre-K to 12th grade students.
Well, it ended up being a beautiful, beautiful Mother's Day today. Hope you were able to enjoy the day. Temperatures were in the mid-80s and we had pretty pleasant conditions out there. Now, we did end up seeing quite a bit of rain yesterday in the early morning hours, and that is some good news, especially when you consider the drought. Take a look at the drought behind me. This is a look at the current drought monitor, not including the rain that we saw yesterday. As we zoom in around San Antonio, exceptional drought across the hill country, but watch this. Boom, that's where that rain fell late Friday, early Saturday morning. So the new drought monitor will be coming out on Thursday of this week. KSAT will have that for you and report some improvements there. Now, I know you may have some rain forecast fatigue, but tomorrow it is going to be mainly quiet during much of the day. But in the afternoon, there will be a few downpours scattered. And we'll have a look at that futurecast in just a bit. Temperatures this week as you plan, humid and warmer in the upper 80s. But by the weekend, not too bad, only isolated rain in the forecast for the weekend. Details on the timing of some of those few rain showers tomorrow coming up in a bit. Courtney.
Thank you, Sarah. See you soon. Well, Mother's Day is full of beloved traditions. The South Texas Blood and Tissue Center is hoping to add donating blood to that list.
In Texas, the #1 cause of pregnancy-related death is hemorrhaging, which is why it's important to have plenty of blood on standby. The Night Team's Lee Waldman met with a mother-daughter pair who say blood donation saved both their lives.
Every Mother's Day, she'll text me, hey, love you, Mom, from your burrito brain. And we have no idea where that came from.
It's Yvonne Ortega's favorite Mother's Day memory with her oldest daughter, Justice Castillo, though the two remember it a little differently.
Given me multiple nicknames throughout the years, but the one that really stuck was burrito brain, because she's always said, like, you don't think before you do things, you just do them.
Regardless of its origin, these two are close.
She's hardworking and will just do whatever she can to help whoever needs help. Like, she cares about others probably more than she cares about herself.
Ortega had Castillo when she was a teenager. Castillo was delivered at just 23 weeks by C-section.
They told me, like, you lost a lot of blood and you're still losing blood. You're going to need some blood.
After platelets and blood transfusions, Ortega was on the mend. Castillo was still in trouble, though. Born at only 2 pounds, Castillo kept losing weight.
They were giving her the blood transfusions, but it was just like a little syringe, like tiny, tiny drops of blood. But instantly you saw what the blood was doing for her.
Now Castillo is 27, living in Houston and thriving. But that's not where Ortega's blood journey ended.
I went to school for a medical assistant, and the first job interview that they gave me was at the blood center.
She's been working as a phlebotomist for 20 years, now on the managerial side of things with the South Texas Blood and Tissue Center's mobile unit. Ortega shares her story to encourage people to donate so that other moms and their babies can get help, just like she did with Justice.
There's lots of mothers that still, they hemorrhage a lot, whether it's a C-section or a natural birth. It is used, and people just don't think about it.
I've needed blood, my mom has needed blood, my grandfathers needed blood. Everybody needs blood at some point in their life.
Obstetric hemorrhage is the leading cause of pregnancy-related death right here in Texas. That's according to the Maternal Mortality and Morbidity Review Committee report. That's why it's so important to have blood on hand for any kind of emergency while moms are giving birth. Now, we do have a link to donate blood on our website. Just click on this story on KSAT.com. Back to you.
Still to come on the Night Beat, the time is running out for the U.S. to raise the debt ceiling. The latest on negotiations between lawmakers on Capitol Hill as they try to avoid the country running out of money. Plus, it's been 3 decades now since the Alamo Dome was constructed here in San Antonio. We take a look back at the dome's past and what's in store for its future.
And after the break, it's been 3 days since Title 42 ended. Why a ruling from a federal judge in Florida is posing an issue when it comes to crowded immigration facilities.
Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas is defending the Biden administration's border policies, but those policies are now facing a lawsuit from the American Civil Liberties Union.
Yeah, and with some border facilities already overcrowded, the situation could get worse after a federal judge in Florida ruled asylum seekers cannot be released from those facilities until they have a court date. ABC's M. Wynn explains how Biden is reacting to that.
Many had predicted a surge of migrants as Title 42 came to an end last week. But DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas says they have seen an approximately 50% drop in the number of people at the southern border compared to before the Trump-era public health policy expired.
There is a safe, lawful, and orderly way to reach the United States and seek humanitarian relief. And that is through the lawful pathways that we have expanded under President Biden's leadership.
For those migrants now arriving at the border, new restrictions are in place. Non-Mexican migrants are required to first apply for and be denied asylum in another country, and they will have to make an appointment at a port of entry on the CBP One app. If those rules aren't followed, they could be removed and not allowed to enter the U.S. for at least 5 years.
Fortunately, I think a lot of immigrants are heeding the advice and trying to do what they're supposed to do legally. So the numbers are not what was initially predicted.
The ACLU has announced it's suing the Biden administration over these new border policies, calling them unlawful. Meanwhile, a federal judge in Florida ruled migrants cannot be released from border facilities without a formal notice to appear in court. The Biden administration calls the judge's ruling harmful.
When, in fact, our Border Patrol stations become overcrowded, it is a matter of the safety and security of people, including our own personnel, not just the vulnerable migrants, to be able to release them.
The Department of Justice's request for a restraining order on that ruling was denied. The department is now expected to appeal the 11th Circuit for an emergency stay. M. Wynn, ABC News, Washington.
Back here at home, the weekend started off quite soggy, but we rebounded very nicely for Mother's Day.
Yeah, it was a beautiful day today.
Absolutely. I think Mother Nature knew she needed a good day.
It's Mother Nature's day, too.
She took the day off and just gave us nice weather.
She took a nap, too.
Throwback. Courtney took a nap today for Mother's Day.
That's all that matters to me.
That's very good, Courtney. All right. Hey, we also got to see a gorgeous sunset this evening. Take a look at some of these pictures sent in through our KSAT Connect feature on our weather app. I absolutely love this picture. This is in Italia. You can see the beautiful sunset there, and in the foreground, we've got those great flowers. And here's the thing. May, typically a lot of people with some land typically do no-mow May so that they can allow the wildflowers to come up, and it's been great with the recent rains after years of drought. This was in Hallettsville. We don't want to forget our friends in our counties out east near Hallettsville, Lavaca County. Plenty of rain out there this weekend, way more than in San Antonio. And the high today was 87. We got up a degree above the average today because we had plenty of sun, and just shy of that record set back in 1995 by 10 degrees. Now, as we look outside right now, things are fairly comfortable. It's 76 in San Antonio, 75 in Kerrville, 79 in Del Rio, 76 in Pleasanton. But in the overnight hours, we're not going to see temperatures fall by all that much, maybe another 5-7 degrees. And the reason for that is it's still pretty humid out there. Dew points are high in the upper 60s and low 70s. And with clouds starting to move back in, those clouds are going to act as a blanket, prevent the temperatures from dipping too much, but we will be waking up tomorrow morning right near 67 degrees. It's going to be cloudy to start your Monday in the morning hours. There should be no issues on the roads early in the morning tomorrow for the morning commute. And then by about 10, we'll see temperatures in the mid 70s. By noon, right around lunch, partly cloudy skies, 78 degrees. And then in the afternoon tomorrow, most people will miss out on the rain tomorrow. But there will be some pockets of rainfall, even pockets of heavy rain in some areas. But coverage is only going to be about 40%. So again, I gotta stress, not everybody's going to see rain tomorrow, but there will be some. And you can see that here in our futurecast. Again, early in the morning tomorrow, it's going to be pretty quiet. Right around noon, we're going to start to see a little bit more sun. And then in the afternoon, here's the thing. Notice how this particular forecast model shows random development of showers and storms here and there. It's very difficult to pinpoint exact locations for this 24 hours out. We're going to be watching the radar very carefully, but what we can say is that there will be at least 40% coverage of showers and storms tomorrow during the peak heating hours of the day between about 2 p.m. and 8 p.m. And the ground is saturated. We have seen some rain, some good rain, Friday night and Saturday morning. And so because of that, any showers and storms that develop are going to fall on saturated ground, and we'll have to monitor for some localized flooding issues. Not everybody's going to see rain tomorrow. I can't emphasize that enough, but we are going to be watching the radar very carefully. Otherwise, here's a look at the highs tomorrow in your neighborhood. 86 in Del Rio. Uvalde will be at 85. 82 in Beeville. 81 in Gonzales. 83 here in San Antonio. 83 in Kerrville. And in a really closer view around San Antonio, 81 in Seguin, 83 in Poteet, 84 in Devine, 84 in Bandera, and 83 in Comfort. Let's talk about the forecast over the next several days. So yes, we have that chance for a few afternoon downpours tomorrow, even less on Tuesday, only 30% coverage. Then we turn off the tap completely Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Temperatures will be closer to 90 degrees in the afternoon on Thursday and Friday. And over the weekend, it does look like there's a chance for isolated rain, but it still should be a pretty nice weekend as far as weekends are concerned. Now, coming up in the next half hour, we're going to talk about how for the first time in a long time we have a surplus of rainfall in those rain gauges for the year.
Yeah, that was super helpful, what we got over the weekend. Thank you so much, Sarah.
Larry's warming up in the bullpen. He'll have a preview of instant replay right after this. Tonight, the NFL released the schedules for the 2023 season, and as expected, the Dallas Cowboys will see a lot of primetime action. The Houston Texans, not so much. With more on instant replay, let's check in with Larry Ramirez.
It is night and day, the difference, let me tell you, right? It's not surprising either. So the Texans have 15 games scheduled for noon, another one at 3:05 p.m., and the regular season finales to be determined coming up tonight at instant replay.
Knowing that your first game is going to be against Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, I mean, for right now, for us, I think we just focus on trying to get better every day. And when that time comes, I think we'll focus more on that. But right now, we're just trying to keep building that team chemistry.
Houston Texans draft pick Will Anderson Jr. does not have Lamar Jackson and the Ravens on his mind. It's all about getting better and building team chemistry leading up to their season opener September 10th.
3rd grade, elementary, believe it or not. I wrote that, and I remember writing that too.
Dallas Cowboys rookie DeMarvion Overshown predicted in the 3rd grade that he would one day play for the Dallas Cowboys. Dreams come true, and the Rook will get a lot of primetime love because the Cowboys only have 2 noon games on their 2023 schedule.
This first season of the XFL has proven to us as owners, to the football community, whom we embrace because we love the game of football, it has proven that we can do it.
XFL owners Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Danny Garcia spent part of week 1 here in San Antonio, and they closed out the XFL season back at the Alamo Dome for the XFL Championship in front of nearly 23,000 fans. The NBA Draft Lottery is Tuesday night. Bryce Miller continues to shine in the show, and UTSA golfer Cameron Carrion will play the national championships this week. That and much more coming up tonight on Instant Replay.
Give the Texans a year. That former Buckeye C.J. Stroud, he'll have them in some primetime games next season.
I trust you.
Mark my word. After the break, the latest on the debt ceiling negotiations when President Biden says he plans to meet with top lawmakers ahead of that June 1st deadline.
Leaders on Capitol Hill running out of time to avoid an unprecedented default on the U.S. debt.
While negotiations continue, Shelley Malachi explains the government could run out of money in the coming weeks if Congress fails to address the looming debt ceiling.
I think they're moving along. It's hard to tell. We've not reached the crunch point yet. But there's real discussion about some changes.
The clock is ticking in Washington for Congress to make a decision on the debt ceiling. If no agreement is made, the federal government could run out of money as soon as June 1st.
So the conversations are constructive between all of the parties. The United States of America has never defaulted on its debt, and we can't. Because defaulting on our debt isn't only about financial markets, it's about paying our Social Security recipients, it's about paying our troops, it's about paying the men and women who are working the border today.
On Friday, the Congressional Budget Office says there is a significant risk the federal government will no longer be able to pay for all of its obligations during the first 2 weeks of June.
As it relates to contingency plans, let's just be kind of clear about this. A lot of the money that was in the infrastructure bill was forward loaded and is not going to necessarily have an impact on specific projects.
If Congress reaches a deal this week, they will still need to draft a bill, then send it to both the House and the Senate to get enough support to pass. I'm Shelley Malachi reporting.
Earlier today, President Biden announced talks with congressional leaders over the debt limit are likely to resume on Tuesday.
Happening around America, in Arizona, 2 people were killed in a neighborhood shooting involving teens. Yuma police say 5 other people were hurt in the shooting at a residential gathering Saturday night. One 19-year-old man and a 20-year-old man died after being taken to the hospital. Meanwhile, a 16-year-old male was airlifted to a Phoenix hospital with life-threatening injuries. The other gunshot victims were all teenagers with non-life-threatening injuries.
There was a lot of witnesses there, so everybody's being interviewed, everything's being double-checked, everything's being gone over.
Local authorities say several off-duty law enforcement officers who happened to be in that area assisted in the incident. The shooting is under investigation and a suspect has not been taken into custody.
To New York now. Today marks 1 year since 10 people were killed and 3 others were injured in a shooting at a supermarket in Buffalo. During a memorial ceremony, Buffalo Mayor Byron Brown read each victim's name before a moment of silence. A first responder then chimed a bell 13 times, one for each victim. Mayor Brown, as well as New York Governor Kathy Hochul and Senator Chuck Schumer, gave speeches at the event.
Hate did not win on that day. The white supremacists did not win on that day. Racism did not win on the day. That the people of Buffalo said that love will come out and be the winner on this day.
President Biden marked the day with an emotional op-ed saying he's doing everything he can to curb gun violence. He also, however, called on Congress to do more.
Back here closer to home tonight, a disaster declaration has been declared for Laguna Heights in the Rio Grande Valley. A tornado yesterday morning killed at least 1 person there and injured 10 others. Residents cleaning up the damage today left behind after businesses and homes were destroyed. Local authorities say the man who was killed was Robert Flores. His cousin says he was killed in the storm while he was sleeping.
He's in heaven. I knew there was going to be a lot of damage, but I was just praying.
Just over the weekend, more than 50 reported tornadoes hit parts of the Midwest. The Midwest now bracing for more forecasts of damaging winds and large hail. It's spring.
And speaking of spring, we do have the potential tomorrow afternoon for a few downpours, but the rain chance a lot less than what we saw yesterday morning around San Antonio. It ended up being a beautiful Mother's Day. You know, dry air was wrapped around all of that rain that moved through on a Saturday morning, but we did see a good chunk of rain. In fact, since May 1st, we've seen almost 3 inches of rain. That is up for the month by nearly an inch. And since January 1st, we've seen a little bit more than 10 inches of rain, a little bit more than average for the year, which is the first time we've had a rain surplus in a long time in San Antonio, at least a year and a half. So we'll take the little bit of rain that we got on Saturday morning. Coming up, details about the time frame tomorrow that we could see some storms. And of course, I'll get you ready for your work week too. Tim.
Thank you, Sarah. Still ahead, it has been 3 decades now since the Alamo Dome was constructed. Up next, we take a look back at when the dome was being built and why its design is so, well, unique.